Hey, Ryan Stevens here. We just got to check out Dead Rising 3. I'm talking to Josh Bridge. He's the executive producer over at Capcom Vancouver. You just showed us a lot in a very short amount of time. I'm just curious, out of everything you just showed us, is there one thing you'd really want to highlight?
Actually, what I'd like to highlight is that there's a lot more to the game than just killing zombies. We've been loving showing off all the combo weapons and all the brutal ways you can kill those zombies. I don't know if you're really killing them, kind of putting them out of their misery. But along the way, essentially, the world's just filled with a bunch of missions you can play. There's all these side missions. There's a big story that's going on. Kind of find the Nick's at the middle of all this. So what I like about it is that you can sandbox how you want to play through this story, right? All those cool things we've been showing you with all the combo weapons and combo vehicles. Now you kind of take those through all the stories and missions and kind of free play the way you want to sort of, beat this game.
Now, we saw the museum that kind of honored the past Dead Rising games. We see that Zombrex is back. We see the Queen Bees are back. I'm curious, what is Dead Rising 3 adding to the legacy of Dead Rising?
Well, it's actually answering a lot of questions that were left unanswered coming out of the original series from Dead Rising 1, even through Dead Rising 2. So if you're a fan of the series, I think you're going to really get a kick out of a lot of the stuff coming together finally. But if you're not, and you don't know anything about the series, you'll pretty much get it. There's like a dude caught in a city, there's an outbreak, he's an everyday Joe mechanic, and he's just trying to survive, and along the way, he's finding some folks are friends, some people are enemies, and he's at the center of all this whole outbreak.
Now, other than the zombies, there's also the psychopaths, which have been in the game since day one, and I'm curious, today we got to see 2 psychopaths. What goes into making a psychopath?
Well, we want to make them memorable, for sure, but we actually want to give them some believable motivation, even if it's completely absurd, but we want to actually build in a character into these guys so they kind of stand out as like, oh my God, that was insane. And this time we kind of took a bigger range of like, okay, that's really dark and it's kind of creepy, and went even further to even more over the top and more crazy. And for the psychos, we kind of used the 7 deadly sins as the inspiration. And you can imagine how hard it was to develop the sloth fight. Believe me, that took a while to figure out. And then you can imagine how dark the lust battle can get.
I'm curious, any psychopaths on the cutting room floor that didn't make it in that you could share with us?
No, they're all in there. The 7 deadly sins are in there. I think what made it the cutting room floor was maybe some of the ideas were just a bit too harsh. But we kind of go as far as we can, and then we try to shape the experience to actually make it actually fun. And we build the gameplay experience of the sins into the gameplay, not just say, hey, that's just a crazy idea. So if like, let's say gluttony, it's all about wanting stuff. So if you can figure out how to manipulate that sin and trick them into it, you can actually find a weakness and actually use that to your own advantage. So it's part of the core gameplay loop as well.
Now, you say there's the 7 deadly sins. I also saw that it's a 7-day mission. So is 7 kind of like a big number, a theme going on in the game?
Yeah, we like the number 7. We kind of thought it was interesting.
It seems like there could be more to that, but I'll leave it at that. I'm curious now, from the Xbox One position, are you guys doing anything special with impulse triggers, the cloud, Kinect, anything there you really want to highlight?
Yes, so first up with Kinect, we looked at how can we integrate this into the core gameplay experience and not have you think, oh, I've got to do the Kinect thing now and break the whole experience. So as we're just showing today, like something like a zombie grabbing you, you don't have to wiggle the sticks or press the buttons. You just push the joystick forward, and that pushes the zombie forward, and it feels really like your natural reaction, and you don't have to do really any big movements. You can just be laying on the couch, kicking back, and just get off me. So I really like that we've been able to integrate that, as well as you get these posse members around you, all these survivors that actually will fight alongside you, and you can just point at the screen and say attack, right? And kind of do this sort of pointing mini RTS, which is kind of cool. Impulse triggers, we saw that as a way to kind of remind you that stuff's about to break. So as you're shooting a gun and it's getting low in ammo, it starts buzzing the impulse trigger, and it's as a reminder. Same thing with any weapon or any vehicle. So I like that for just sort of I don't have to worry about looking down at the HUD. I'm like, oh yeah, I feel that this is about to break. I better change my strategy.
I noticed when you guys were starting up the game that there's some difficulty levels, and one of them was speedrunner, I believe. Speedrunning, can you talk about how that, we have some guys in the office that are really into that sort of thing, so I'm curious if you could talk to that at all.
What we have actually is asynchronous matchmaking that happens in the background using Xbox One and how it does cloud syncing. So what you do is you set your play style, and then off you go into the game. And if other people are matched that play style, then you guys will be paired up to play co-op online, and the goal is try to beat the game as fast as you can, let's say in speedrun.
Let's play the number game, if you don't mind. How many blueprints are in the game?
Blueprints? Over 100 for sure. Are you talking about combo weapons or combo vehicles? Because the blueprints are all different things. There's combo food as well, right? So there's all different ways you can customize.
I don't know if you can talk to any of this stuff. How much hard drive space will an install take?
Not sure.
Do you know what the actual frame buffer, that's the big talk right now. Like, what resolution are you guys actually running at?
We are 720p, upscale to 1080p. Our UI obviously runs at a native 1080p, and we're locked at 30 frames per second. Incredible amount of stuff in this game. You can see it, incredible amount of zombies, and that's where we want to make sure that it felt really good and felt responsive.
You talked about it before we started the interview, but co-op's back. Are you guys doing anything new after Dead Rising 2 with the co-op?
Yeah, actually, we looked back at Dead Rising 2, and we wanted to actually make it a more meaningful experience for co-op. So first up, if you play as the client, you get your own character. His name is Dick. He's a trucker. So it's Nick and Dick. And so you get to play with Dick, and you both play in through the story, and you'll see Dick in the cinematics as well. So you're part of the story, right? And then when you go into the game, you have story saving now, which was a big thing. So if I play with you online and I go back offline as a client, I have story progress saved in my offline game. So I can meaningfully play story through. Even things like combo vehicles, you can hop in those things together and start shooting off the turrets if you're in the passenger seat. So the glue of all this co-op feels a lot more cohesive, and we love playing co-op. It's just awesome because you end up semi-griefing each other, just running each other over as you're trying to kill zombies.
I'm curious, we saw little clips were being recorded and whatnot, but is the actual camera coming back, Frank's camera from the first game?
No camera, no Frank West, no. What are you talking about? Those game DVR moments are awesome. They're actually built into a lot of the key moments that are happening in the game, and it just automatically captures those, and you can share those with friends. Pretty cool.
What's your favorite thing about the game that people may not be so in the know about?
It's actually the amount of freedom you have in this world that keeps changing. Right? These zombies start becoming tougher. There's more and more filling the world. There's different types. There's even these human enemies that you'll see start changing up the world. And that freedom you have of sort of discovery and how you want to solve that, I think is really exhilarating. I really love that aspect of the game.
And what would you say is a prime example of Dead Rising 3 being a next-gen game? You couldn't have done it on the Xbox 360.
We blew out the scale, right? The scale of the game with having Dead Rising 1 and 2 fit in Dead Rising 3 several times over. And that huge scale, now all streaming, and having that same amount of density of all those places you can go into, and even more so now you can climb and go under stuff and all the weapons. The ability to be able to do that, we simply could not have done that on last gen. Absolutely not.
Great. And when are we going to be able to pick up Dead Rising 3?
This is coming out launch November 22nd with the Xbox One.
And will there be a day one patch?
What are you talking about? Launch day one. We're good.
Awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No.
To see more Dead Rising 3, including stuff you won't see anywhere else, check out GTTV this Thursday, November 7th at 1 a.m. Eastern and Pacific, only on Spike.